Hey, also welcome to the channel today. I can bet you guys thought I was going to talk about Joe Biden and his trip to Ukraine, right? Well, we'll get to Joe in Ukraine, but before we do that, what I want to talk to you about today is something we touched in last week. It is going to be backpacks. So I had a couple of questions come up about what my everyday backpack looks like and what my one-day bag looks like, which was this guy that we looked at last week. So let's hop on into the backyard and we'll take a look and see what I take with me every day in terms of a preparedness backpack, which is really what you're looking for in a backpack. You just throw it in your car. So let's take a look. Boom, just like that, we're on my lanai in the backyard. So super exciting. All right, so back to it. We were going to talk today about what my one-day vehicle prep bag looks like. And you guys, if you followed the channel at all for a little bit, you already know this is my one-day bag that has the ASIC knife, which we're going to take out here real quick. ASIC knife, which is a big, nice knife in terms of both survival and fighting situations if you need one. And if you haven't already looked at it, I've got a video called Worst Case Scenario. It's pinned to the top of my channel. You can go check that video out and see my review of all these knives that we're going to be talking a little bit about today. Other thing is the cat tourniquet, which you'll notice, again, if you go back and check that video out, is rubber banded to the outside of my molly bag. I'll hit it again. These things come wrapped in cellophane. If yours are wrapped in cellophane, you are wrong. Unwrap them from the cellophane, because if you're bleeding to death, your hand's going to be covered in blood and you're going to need to get to that thing, and you're not going to be able to. You're going to bleed to death with a tourniquet in your hand. Let's not do that. So all you do is you wind it through the rubber band, through the molly on the back, slide the rubber band in, let it go, and now you've got a great way to secure your tourniquet. So let's have a look in the bag and see what I take with me on the day-to-day basis. So the first thing, and one of the most important to always have on hand, in my opinion, when it comes to just a one-day bag, never know where you may end up. A couple of bottles of water. I mean, what are you going to do if your car breaks down? Water's a nice thing to have. So the first thing that we're going to have on the inside is 2 bottles of water, just one for me and one for anybody else who I may have in the car while we're waiting for, a buddy to show up with a jack to lift your car up, or whatever you may need. Or if you have to walk and it's, the desert environment, sure would be great to have a couple of bottles of water. So second thing is my second of these knives. If you watched that other video, you will recognize this again. One of my Pioneer knives that has a compass and a fire starter on it, and is much more of a very robust knife, if you recall. So just a great knife for field work if ever you find yourself in a situation that you need to be chopping down a tree to get some heat. This thing can do all that stuff for you. So that's the third thing that we're looking at here. Next one is something really nice to have. It is a trauma dressing. Trauma dressing is a great thing to have if you have to provide aid to someone else or yourself, because the thing you can do, it actually compresses to itself. You wind it around the injury, pull it tight, and it'll actually apply the pressure on top of you applying pressure to hopefully stem some bleeding that you may need to stop. So that is another crucial item to have in your bag. The next thing that kind of goes along with that is a second tourniquet. We have 4 limbs. Having one tourniquet may not be enough. So here is a second tourniquet that I have, either for myself or for someone else that may need assistance when it comes to blood loss. Next thing in here, and these few things are something that I think every vehicle should have in them for sure. Flashlight, and not just a flashlight, but a good high lumen flashlight with fresh batteries every time you make a long trip. So having a flashlight is a crucial thing to have, because if you're gonna have to walk in the dark, great way to signal a vehicle, and also a really nice way to make yourself feel a little bit better about being in the dark, without a doubt. Next thing, I think I speak for the universe when I say that, boom, Buc-ee's hot and spicy beef jerky. Man, Buc-ee's beef jerky, what's better than that? Pretty much nothing. But a great option to have. Beef jerky is full of protein, very filling, and a great way to have something in your vehicle where if you're going to be on your own for a while, having a little bit of beef jerky is a great way to go. You may choose another brand. There are many like this. All are inferior. So Buc-ee's beef jerky is a really awesome way to, and any beef jerky for that record, is a really great way to have a food plan for if you're going to be needing something to eat if you're out for a little while. So the other thing that I would say for sure to make sure you have your hands on is a smaller knife, just of the pocket size. Great knife to just have in the off chance you need to you need to cut something, you know. And then the final two things that I really think, if you're going to have just a preparedness bag in your vehicle, as I prefer to call these, as opposed to bug out bag, because if you're already in your car, you're in good shape, you know, if you're mobile. So I call it a preparedness bag because it's a great way to try to be prepared for the number of circumstances you may encounter. So the next thing that I will have is a backup magazine to the backup magazine for the chosen firearm that I will be carrying on my hip that day. So you never want to have to need that many magazines, you know. It's not the best thing if you're pulling for the last mag in a regular day-to-day situation, but you definitely rather have, you know, a couple extra magazines. I recommend personally at least 3 of the higher capacity style pistols that you may encounter, because is too much ammo ever enough? No, you can never have enough ammunition. So it's always a good thing to make sure you have as much as you could possibly need. And then the final thing that I have in my my one-day preparedness bag is extra magazines for the other thing that is in my car. I'm sure most of you recognize this particular version of magazine, and if you've watched my video about pistol braces, you can actually see exactly what I'm talking about in that video, which is now compliant to the new rule, of course. Law first and always. I never would do anything that was outside of exactly what the ATF would want me to do. So extra magazines for this thing, by the way. Yep. Extra magazines for this thing. I like to have 3 magazines. That's 90 rounds total. If I need more than 90 rounds of 7.62 by 39, I should probably be using that vehicle to make my escape. Fair enough? Fair enough. So yeah, that is the basic layout of what I have, and I'm going to go ahead and pan this thing down so you guys can get a little look at what we're talking about here. But so we've got our water, ASIC knife, the Pioneer style knife, a pocket knife, a trauma dressing, a cat tourniquet, a flashlight, the best beef jerky on the planet, and finally 2 extra magazines for the weapon of choice, aside from the ones that I have quicker access to. So really, you know, you look at what we've got here. We've addressed food, we've addressed water, we've addressed maybe needing to start a fire, and we've addressed the basics of first aid. So, you know, is this all encompassing? Absolutely not. There are bags that I tailor for other needs in other situations where maybe we're looking at going to somewhere that's a little bit more dangerous, where maybe a couple more of these are handy, or, you know, someplace where there may not be as much access to food and water, so maybe a case of water in the trunk as opposed to just 2, and maybe there's never enough beef jerky on the planet. So those are really the things that I recommend for an overnight bag, and again, or, you know, your one-day preparedness bag. But at the same time, tailor these things to your personal environment and your personal level of comfort with where you're going. That's the biggest thing, is everybody wants to say, I have the definitive this, the definitive that. No, you don't. There's no such thing as definitive, because we are preparing for a situation that we don't yet know. So you're getting the test and then the lesson if you have to use these things. So there it is, y'all. That is my recommendations for a one-day bag. All right, so now let's talk about it. Basically, Joe Biden snuck into the Ukraine and gave them a speech where he basically called on Putin to end the war and said the United States would do everything we could and be there for the duration. Then today he made a speech in Poland basically echoing the same thing and calling on Putin to end the war and say if he didn't, we would actually see what we could do to strengthen our sanctions against them. Biggest piece of news that goes underneath all this: we have agreed to send probably our best bomb ever to the Ukrainians. It's called the JDAM-ER, the Joint Direct Attack Munition Extended Range. And what the JDAM-ER is it our most improved version of a GPS-guided bomb. And what this thing will do is it uses GPS location via our satellites to determine its location to the location of the target, and it has steering fins that act like weather vanes that move left and right and up and down that will guide it directly to within, I think it's 3.5 feet of its intended target. And this is a 2,000-pound bomb that we use. Thing that we're going to be doing that's crazy with them is we're sending them the kits. So in theory, they can take any bomb that will mate with a aircraft that they're using at the time and turn it from a dumb bomb to a smart bomb. I think it's kind of scary. Like I talked about in the video yesterday, they are slowly tightening this knot of World War III, where now not only are we providing them with lethal aid, we're telling them they need to stop the war or else. And now China's getting involved, and we're telling China they can't do what we're doing for the Russians. They cannot do for the Russians what we're doing for Ukraine, basically. I think the next week or so is going to be really interesting in terms of what happens with Putin's response, because he has to do something. They are losing. We have intelligence they're preparing a spring offensive because the winter has bogged them down. They were able to do absolutely nothing. So they are shifting assets around to make a big push on Kyiv and on Zelensky and everything that Ukraine is trying to do. And the problem is 50%, I think it was 48 and 47, 48% of Americans say keep supporting, 47% say, we're providing them with everything we have. And then the remainder's like, Ukraine, where's that? So the problem is Americans are becoming increasingly concerned with the amount of American wealth being spent in defending Ukraine. So how far does it go? We've promised them we're here for the duration, but what does that even actually mean? Duration of what? Duration of the war? Duration of their time as a country? Duration of their entrance into NATO? I don't know. Who knows? I think the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting. Putin has also removed them from the nuclear arms treaty that we signed with them, basically trying to slow and stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons and nuclear testing. That's not good. That's not good at all. Now we're one step closer to a nuclear exchange with Russia over Ukraine. How do we turn this temperature down a little bit? That's the question, I think. So I would love to hear what you guys think about both my bag setup as well as these thoughts on Ukraine. Like I said, we're trying to do the channel as much about preparedness and survival stuff and veteran stuff as we can. Man, these headlines keep just coming out every single day. So we're going to keep doing this, making these videos about preparedness and everything. And I would love for you guys to hit up the comments and show me kind of what you're carrying in your everyday bag. Maybe you'll convince me my setup isn't good enough and I need to make changes to it. So do that. And, with every other day and every other video, of course, there's going to be a little helicopter in the corner. Go ahead and click on that guy and hit subscribe. It really helps me tailor what I'm making to you guys. And of course, as a small creator trying to get bigger, every subscribe is crucial to me. So I really appreciate that. And thank you guys for doing that. So I hope you enjoyed the checkout of my one-day bag. We're going to look a little later on at the 3-day bag and at my oh crap time to go bag. But for today, I think that's going to be about it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.